Hey guys, I'm back. It's been busy, I'm sorry for that, but I have read a bit, not a lot. I must admit, I did read more during the summer, but everybody does that. I started school. That's partially why I haven't been reading a lot. But I have finished a couple of books and I haven't made a video about it, and I kind of feel bad about it, so now I'm doing it. And I finished 2 books in the Game of Thrones series, so I'm doing both at the same time. Isn't that exciting? So, I'll start with the second one in the series. And as I said, the first one, the first book, it's a lot like the TV show, or the TV show replicates the books quite well, which is good. But because there are characters that aren't taken in the TV show from the first book, then, they're here. They're here in the second book, and you won't see them in the TV show, obviously. They don't really have like a huge significant matter in the whole scheme of things, but they're nice people. It's little things that makes the whole picture so good. It's a little bit more than there is in the TV show, but it's not really essential that you read this book. That sounds mean. I mean, like, to get more of like everything that this happened in the book, it didn't happen in the TV show, you won't get that here. Only thing you will get in this book is that you will get a hell of a lot more backstory, and you will read the names so many times you will remember them. At least the main characters. Like some of these old people, like all of the masters and everything, I don't freaking remember them at all. And I'm lazy. I'm way too lazy. I don't freaking go back in the index and check, like, oh, which family is this person in? And oh, he's from that family. Only though, it's quite funny to, like, match the worlds. Because when I think of the people who are in the Night's Watch and the people in like the rest of the world, and how like the rest of the families and they go on and you meet, and then things happen. And you kind of think like, oh, I've heard that last name before, or that family name before. It's like, oh yeah. It's like, oh. So that's quite funny. So you get more attached to them. You feel more of the whole universe and how small it seems. Because in the beginning, it's like, oh, damn, it's huge. So many people, so much land. Nobody knows anybody, and stuff like that. So it's quite good. If you're like me and you just can't just jump into a series, then of course read it. You don't really have any other choice. But if you're more like you want all the other things that people are raging about or being annoyed about on the internet or wherever, it's not that book. Might be in this book though. That is the third book, part 1. It gets more interesting, and it's always interesting, but especially in the first chapter, if I remember it correctly. No, I don't. I really do not think I don't. No, that's the book I'm reading now. I'm sorry. But yeah. Well, actually it does. There are other things that were portrayed differently than in TV shows, which is cool. It's fine. Everybody's to their opinion and how they want to interpret it, but this is the original, and this is apparently how it's supposed to be. So, is that what I liked as well? There are a little bit more things that happened here that aren't in the show, obviously, and I have to admit, there has been a while since I last seen the TV show. I don't remember it exactly, and there might be like scenes in the TV show or things that happened there that I don't remember, or like people there I didn't think was like, I couldn't match them with the people here in the book. That might happen, but in my opinion, there were a lot more things going on here. And I have to say, as I agree with on the internet, it's not really a huge spoiler, I hope, that the whole relationship between the Kingslayer and Brienne of Tarth is a lot more full. There's a lot more meat to the bone than there is in the TV show. There you get to see all that, that cocky Jamie. But here you get to think. It's like I said with Jon Snow in my previous video, where you kind of, in the TV show you didn't really get to know him, but because there's a book, you get into his thoughts. And you do that with Jamie too, and I think that's really important, to get to know that person, kind of like him. So I think that's interesting. So that's why I love to read the books, because unless you have a voiceover on a TV show or movie, you don't get in their heads. But you do in the books. So that's why I love reading books, among other things. And it's definitely worth doing it. So if you're one of those people who just wants to get the information, the things that aren't in the TV show, start with that one. I would recommend that. There might be, because you do skip the two first, there are people that you won't recognize, that you'd be like, well, wait, who? What? I don't think there's, if I remember it correctly, there aren't really a lot of references to things that happened in the previous books, so you won't be like, has that happened, or are they talking about things that hasn't been written but it still has happened in the universe? If you're really confused, of course you can just Google it, but with the risk of getting spoilers, which is really bad. Spoilers are bad. So yeah, it was really just dragged me in. So because I started school, I didn't read for a month or something, over a month, and I felt really bad. I was like, oh, I should read again. And then I was on this really long trip, and I could read, and I just got sucked into the universe right away. And I was like, why haven't I read? It's amazing. So then I could put the book down for like 2 days, and I finished the book. And luckily I worked in a bookstore, so I could just buy the next one. So I do have the next one, book 3 part 2. Started reading it, haven't come that far since I started reading like 2 days ago. And I'm excited. I like it. It's cool, and goddamn, I'm such a Targaryen. Like, I love Targaryen, and those bastards, they were so cool. No fucking dragons. So yeah, I must admit though, or I must apologize, I should say, that I'm not really telling you much of what the books are all about. That might be a disadvantage for those people who actually haven't either heard of Game of Thrones. There are people who haven't heard of Game of Thrones. It's totally okay. I'm just very sorry that the light is struck you so hard when you came out that dark cape. Sorry. Well, yeah, so I'm not talking much about what's happening here because I am actually presuming that most of you either have seen Game of Thrones or know basically what's it about. But if you're unsure, it's a medieval show. It's cool, it's got lots of characters, really in-depth, and it's well written, it's quick to read. They're heavy, they look like bricks. But they're cozy bricks, like they're lovely bricks. They're bricks that you can bring in your purse and they can save your life, either by, you can sitting on a coffee shop late at night when you're waiting for someone who never turns up and you never learn, so you can sit there and read, or you can have it in your purse or backpack or wherever, like band purse or whatever you carry, and then if someone's intimidating, you just smack them with a heavy brick of a Game of Thrones book, that is. It's a lifesaver. Cool. I'll see you next time.